There's a strange kind of power in the word no. It's small, but it can shake the ground beneath relationships, expectations, and habits that have quietly taken root in our lives. Most people think saying no creates distance, but the truth is, it creates definition. It tells the world who you are and what you stand for. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology caught up. They believed that dignity isn't something you demand, it's something you protect, one decision at a time. Stoicism, at its core, isn't about cold detachment or indifference, it's about alignment. Marcus Aurelius didn't seek to please everyone, he sought to be consistent with himself. The Stoics saw every no as an affirmation of inner harmony, a boundary drawn not out of pride but out of self-respect. Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." To them, scattering yourself across everyone's demands meant losing the shape of your own life. A Stoic no wasn't rejection, it was preservation. But here's the question that lingers. In a world that constantly pulls us toward yes, how do we say no without guilt, without fear, and without losing connection to others? That's where philosophy turns into practice, and where real strength begins. If that message struck a chord, if you've ever felt the quiet exhaustion of saying yes too often, then this journey is meant for you. Tap subscribe to keep exploring the kind of wisdom that makes your mind stronger and your boundaries clearer. Like if you believe that self-respect starts with a single word, and drop a comment sharing how learning to say no has changed your life. Because sometimes, growth begins not by adding more, but by daring to take something away. Number 1. Offer an alternative. Most people think saying no is like closing a door, abrupt, final, maybe even a little cold. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed that a no doesn't have to end a conversation, it can reshape it. To say no with grace is to draw a boundary without building a wall. It's the art of offering an alternative, a calmer path forward that still protects your peace. True strength, the Stoics taught, isn't in rejection, it's in redirection. Epictetus once said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." It's a line that captures the balance of Stoic strength, being firm in your values but gentle in your delivery. When you say no without hostility, when you guide rather than refuse, you turn confrontation into connection. Psychology today might call it assertive empathy, standing your ground while still understanding the other person's world. The Stoics practiced this not for diplomacy, but for dignity. There's an old story from Greece about a potter whose neighbor kept borrowing his tools and never returning them. One day, instead of refusing outright, the potter said, "I can't lend you the tool, but come, I'll help you make what you need." The neighbor, surprised, agreed. Over time, they built a friendship instead of resentment. That was Stoicism in action, the kind of wisdom that chooses balance over bitterness. Saying no doesn't have to mean walking away. It can mean standing firmly while still facing the other person with kindness. The Stoics knew that when your words carry both clarity and compassion, people don't just hear your no, they respect it, because what they feel behind it isn't rejection, it's calm strength. Number 2. Use a calm and firm tone. There's a certain silence that follows a calm voice, the kind that can settle a storm. When someone says no in anger, it becomes a battle, but when they say it calmly, it becomes a truth. The Stoics believed that tone, not volume, reveals the measure of a person's inner strength. A calm no isn't weakness, it's evidence of someone who owns their emotions instead of being owned by them. It's not about dominance, it's about dignity. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The Stoics saw life as a test of character, and every interaction, even saying no, as a chance to prove composure. To them, Calmness was not passivity, it was control through understanding. When your tone stays steady, you become the anchor in other people's chaos. Modern psychology calls this emotional regulation. The Stoics simply called it virtue. There's an old tale of a Roman teacher who was constantly provoked by his students, mocked for his old clothes and simple meals. One day, when a student insulted him publicly, he didn't shout back. He just looked up, smiled, and said, "When you are calm enough to speak again, I'll listen." The classroom fell silent. He didn't win through anger, he won through presence. That's the kind of quiet authority Stoicism teaches, power without the noise. So when you say no to a demand, a distraction, or a disrespect, do it the Stoic way, steady, slow, and certain. Let your tone carry the weight of self-respect, not self-defense. Because when your no comes from calm conviction, it doesn't just stop a request, it earns respect. Number 3. Appreciate before rejecting. There's a rare kind of elegance in people who can say no without breaking the bridge between hearts. The Stoics believe that kindness doesn't weaken truth, it amplifies it. To appreciate before rejecting means recognizing the other person's effort, emotion, or intention before drawing your boundary. It's a way of saying, "I see you, I understand you, but I must still choose differently." This isn't manipulation, it's respect in motion. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Kindness is invincible so long as it is sincere." That line wasn't about politeness, it was about power. The power to stay human in the face of pressure. The Stoics knew that every act of refusal carries energy, and how you deliver it can either breed resentment or mutual understanding. Modern psychology calls it validation, acknowledging someone's reality without surrendering your own. When you appreciate before rejecting, your no feels less like a wall and more like a handshake. There's an old story of a baker whose neighbor asked him for free bread each morning. Instead of snapping or avoiding him, the baker would smile and say, "I wish I could. Your kindness deserves it, but I have to keep the oven burning for those who pay." The neighbor would nod and walk away, never angry. Years later, when he could afford it, he returned every favor tenfold. The baker's strength wasn't in his refusal, but in the warmth that wrapped around it. So when you need to say no, don't make it a sword, make it a mirror. Reflect gratitude first, then your boundary. The Stoics believed that character isn't shown in how we fight, but in how we part ways. A gentle no, built on appreciation, doesn't make you weaker. It makes you unforgettable. Number 4. Start with a positive statement, end with no. There's a rhythm to powerful communication, like the steady beat of a drum before a decisive strike. The Stoics believed that words should carry both reason and warmth, so they strike balance rather than chaos. Start with a positive, end with no, isn't a trick. It's a way of speaking that honors the other person and your own principles. Imagine saying, "I truly value what you're doing, but I can't join this time." It's firm, but not harsh. The Stoics would call that logos with grace, reason guided by virtue. Epictetus once said, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." That single line carries the weight of centuries. When you begin with positivity, you disarm defensiveness. You let the other person know that your refusal doesn't come from ego or anger, but from clarity. Stoic strength isn't in how loud you say no, but in how calmly you do it. It's the quiet confidence that your boundaries come from thought, not emotion. There's an old folktale of a blacksmith who was asked to forge a sword overnight. He smiled and said, "I'd love to help truly, but a rushed blade breaks in battle and I won't hand you something that fails." His tone was soft, but his decision was steel. The requester respected him even more for it. The lesson? Saying no with warmth is not surrender, it's mastery. So, Next time you must decline, start with light before closing the door. Let your words breathe with goodwill, then stand firm in your no. The Stoics believed that real influence isn't in pleasing everyone, it's in being unwavering yet kind. That balance between gentleness and conviction is what turns an ordinary no into the voice of someone deeply respected. Number 5. Say no with humor. There's a certain kind of strength that doesn't roar, it laughs. Humor, when used wisely, can soften the hardest refusals and turn what could have been conflict into connection. The Stoics knew that laughter wasn't a distraction from wisdom, it was a tool of it. Seneca once wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. And sometimes kindness looks like a smile paired with a clever no." Picture a friend asking you for a favor you simply can't take on. You grin and say, "If I had a clone, you'd be first on his list." You've just said no, but you've left no bruise. In Stoic philosophy, humor isn't about escaping seriousness, it's about tempering it. Life, as the Stoics saw it, is full of absurdities. The wise person doesn't fight them, they notice them, sometimes with a quiet smirk. Humor allows you to refuse without rejection, to assert your boundaries without turning cold. It turns the no from a wall into a doorway, still firm but open to goodwill. It shows emotional maturity, a trait the Stoics prized far more than blind compliance. Think of the farmer in the old village story. When his neighbor asked to borrow his only horse on the day of planting, he chuckled and said, "If I lend it to you, my crops will grow legs and run away." Everyone laughed, and the message was clear. His humor didn't diminish his boundary, it made it memorable. That's what Stoic communication feels like, light in tone, but strong in meaning. A Stoic no said with humor is not about dodging discomfort, it's about disarming it. You respect others enough to decline with warmth, not arrogance. And in doing so, you show what real power looks like, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself because it already knows its ground. A smile and a well-timed joke can carry the weight of wisdom, the kind the Stoics would call cheerful discipline, the rare ability to stay kind even when saying no. Number 6. Say no with empathy. There's a kind of no that doesn't sound harsh, it feels human. The Stoics never believed wisdom meant becoming stone. They saw virtue in compassion, in understanding the hearts of others while standing firm in your own. Empathy, to them, wasn't weakness, it was clarity. Imagine you're turning down a friend's request for help, not because you don't care, but because your plate is already full. You look them in the eye, speak softly, and say, "I wish I could, but I don't want to promise something I can't give fully." That's not rejection, that's respect. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This wasn't about self-punishment, it was about holding yourself to honesty while meeting others with grace. When you say no with empathy, you're not closing a door, you're keeping trust alive. You're saying, "I see you, I value you, but I also value what I can genuinely offer." And that balance between kindness and truth is where real strength lives. Think of an old tailor in a small town known for his gentle refusals. When villagers begged him to rush their suits, he'd smile and say, "If I hurry your coat, I'll ruin someone else's wedding day." The village laughed and respected him even more. He didn't give in, but he made everyone feel understood. That's Stoic empathy, the wisdom to understand that your boundaries can protect not just yourself, but others too. To say no with empathy is to act with both the heart and the mind. It's not about pleasing everyone, it's about communicating with dignity. The Stoics taught that virtue isn't cold, it's warm with intention. So the next time you need to refuse someone, don't armor up, tune in, let your empathy guide your firmness. Because a no, that's said with care, carries more honor than a yes said out of guilt. Number 7. respond in text or email. Sometimes the best way to say no isn't face-to-face. It's with a few carefully chosen words typed in calm silence. The Stoics often practiced measured response, the art of pausing before speaking, giving thought the space to breathe before it becomes action. Writing your no gives you that pause. It removes the pressure of immediate reaction and lets reason, not guilt, guide your words. Epictetus taught, if someone is provoking you, remember, it is your judgment that provokes you. In the same way, responding in writing lets you step outside the heat of the moment and answer with clarity instead of impulse. Think of it this way: a written no is like a stone placed gently in still water. It makes ripples, yes, but they're calm, intentional, and controlled. Imagine getting a text request that you know will stretch you too thin: a project, a favor, a weekend commitment. Instead of blurting a hasty yes, you write something short, polite, and firm. I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't take this on right now. That single message carries the quiet strength of someone who knows their limits and respects both themselves and the other person enough to be honest. There's an old story of a merchant who never gave immediate answers to offers. When a deal was proposed, he'd smile and say, "Let me sleep on it." Some mocked him for being slow, but over time, his decisions built a reputation for fairness and balance. That's Stoicism in motion, wisdom not as speed, but as stillness. The merchant's delay wasn't hesitation, it was composure, and in that composure, he earned both respect and peace. Writing your no, instead of saying it aloud, is a small, modern version of that same Stoic patience. It's a reminder that wisdom often whispers where impulse shouts. You're not avoiding confrontation, you're choosing precision over pressure. Because sometimes the most powerful boundaries are the ones written quietly but backed by conviction. In the end, your words, typed calmly, sent deliberately, speak louder than any rushed explanation ever could. If you've stayed with me until the end, it says something powerful about you. That you're not just curious about Stoic philosophy, but about mastering yourself in a noisy, demanding world. Most people rush through advice. Few sit with ideas long enough to let them shape their thinking. So take a moment and give yourself credit for that. Remember, strength isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when a quiet, well-chosen no protects your time, your energy, and your peace. If this journey into the Stoic mind sparked something in you, stick around. More insights like this are waiting to challenge and inspire you. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. Your voice adds to the conversation, and that's where real growth begins.